seeing a lot of influx of new IoT devices, beacons, sensors, cameras, all this stuff is playing a new role in our industry. Everything's about becoming more and more about data. But it's not just data for data's sake. We're seeing a lot more focus on how do we use data, why do we use data? We're seeing this new influx of people in our industries, data scientists, stuff we never even thought about before. So it's really more focused on the online world. So we're taking that online world offline into the stores, into airports, things like that. So all this new sensor technologies are just dramatically changing our world. Digital signage is not just about the screen. It's weird to hear that from a screen company, but it's not just about the screen. It's not just about the content, it's about how you use the content. Is the content impactful? Are people spending more time in understanding the consumer and stuff like that? So these new IoT devices, these new sensors that we're starting to see, it's really creating a renaissance of our industry, per se. So sensors are coming in so many different ways in our environment. So we have, you talked the high level of camera-based sensors. So from there we can do things like age and gender, demographics, anonymous information. We can trigger content, we can understand traffic patterns, heat mapping. Then we start adding in, years ago with beacons were everywhere at our show, but beacons are there's still a purpose of beacons. So we have that engagement from that perspective. And then you add in RFID, being able to understand where items are at inside of a store, so you have inventory capability, but then triggering content because I brought this shirt into a fitting room, or I'm bringing it to different areas, or I'm picking up different cell phones and triggering it. Then you have pressure sensors, and we start looking at all of these, just everything you imagine. Then we start talking about talking to cell phones. So now we have mobile, hot Wi-Fi, hate to use the term Wi-Fi sniffing, but we are talking to mobile devices and understanding heat mapping and traffic patterns. And a lot of that then is going into apps. So now we have the app world entering the digital signage space. So it's not just the physical big LCD display, we have the little small device that's now triggering content. So sensors, in a broad term, is everything, but IoT devices, it's everything just connecting, putting different types of connected devices inside media players, inside screens, standalone, in furniture, you name it. All of that's starting to play this massive role in our industry. So when someone is out there looking for a display, not even talking about LCD, LED projection, doesn't matter, just a display period for digital signage. The three things I tell everybody is make sure it's purpose-driven. You don't want to put a consumer-grade product outside in the sunlight, for example, so it's got to be purpose-driven. Make sure it meets the job. So if you're going to run this 24/7, you don't put a product out there that's designed to run for 3 hours a day. And probably the third most important thing that I tell everybody is make sure that the technology, the size, the fit, the type of technology truly meets your objectives. If you're going to do a massive 800-inch display, you can do that with a projector. If you're going to be doing something that requires extremely high brightness, you have direct view LED, you have high brightness LCDs. It's really making sure that too many times we look at a price tag. Instead, let's look at what your objectives are, it's purpose-driven, what you want to get out of it. That's going to drive your decisions behind the types of displays you want to use. So this year at DSE, NEC is just excited. We've got nominated for 2 awards. The first one's actually they're both near and dear to all of us, but the first one is it's in our backyard. It's our briefing center. This is our opportunity where we bring customers, partners, associations, bring them in and really experience NEC. We have had so many different events already in just a short amount of time we've had the briefing center. The other thing that's really critical about our briefing center is our people live, eat, and breathe in that space. We have our break room as part of it. We have our entry lobby areas we have meeting rooms in there. We purposely make sure that our people are using our technology just as much as we want people who are buying our technology. The briefing center is really a core to our principles and our organization. We have had events from the women of Avixa. We've had local events happening. We've had our own events with our families, bringing our families in. It's a core to our environment. The great thing about our briefing center is it's that opportunity to showcase what we do great, and that's solutions. Verticalized, retail, transportation, healthcare, education, cinema, restaurants, corporate, and then you go into, we have a meeting room, you can show a large meeting room, huddle spaces. It's all about using all of our technology, which is just amazing. amazing. So you have that, and then you have the other great nomination we had, which was the Rooted in Greatness, and that was amazing. This is, those who don't know about this, this was for the bicentennial for the state of Illinois. And what we've done is we're projection mapping onto trees. And it's different great people from Illinois, Barack Obama, Oprah Winfrey. And it's not just doing the visual aspect, it's the audio aspect as well. So not only do you have video, you have audio going on. And this also shows a great partnership with and a partner of ours in Chicago, Next Now agency. So not only is it NEC technology, it's also working with a fantastic partner in Next Now. We're projection mapping onto these trees, and you know, we're keeping our fingers crossed. We're all excited about about all the awards, but it's also showing how technology doesn't necessarily need to be in a 16:9 aspect ratio, doesn't necessarily need to be on a wall, doesn't necessarily need to be on a billboard. It's how you can use technology to change an environment. Projection mapping onto trees, audio, changing a briefing center, making that part of your day-to-day experiences. That is what this technology should be utilized for. So Rooted in Greatness really it came out of an idea of what is the greatest things about Illinois. Now I'm new to Illinois. I've been there for 6 years, but you see the pride in it, and so that was one of the key things. Is let's talk about the amazing people. It was about the people in Illinois. So you take Barack Obama, Oprah Winfrey, you go down a list of it, right? So that was one piece of it. The other thing was, it can't just always be a visual aspect. One of the things I think that in digital signage, we always focus is on the visual aspect. And everybody goes, well, you're a display company, you should be focusing on that. But it's about the overall experience. Everything's about experiences, and it's building those experiences, building that one-to-one connection. If you're seeing a video of Barack Obama and you're hearing Barack Obama talking, that hits all your senses. So you're definitely inside that environment. And the ideation behind all this came really out of talking about what does the customer want? What do the partners want to do? What can technology do? How do we push technology to do something different it hasn't done before? And how do we deliver on an expected experience and an experience that no one has any idea coming? Any of these types of solutions like that are rooted that way. When you do it the right way, you're delivering something that no one expected, and you're delivering above and beyond those expectations. And that's what's great about incorporating things like audio into it. Because it does open up, because everybody's expecting, okay, I see projection mapping, it's an image. Now you add in audio. You're like, wow, it changes, it becomes memorable. Right? And that's probably one of the biggest things about it. It becomes memorable. It achieved the goals of the customer, of all the stakeholders. They wanted something people really stuck to them, and because that stickiness. So the DSE, the show itself, one of probably the biggest benefits, it's hard to narrow it down to one big benefit, right? You have to look at it from the big holistic perspective of it challenges us. Right? I always tell everybody that one of my favorite terms in the world is chaos. Chaos is really good. It's healthy. It means you're changing, you're constantly evolving, right? When I look at DSE, it creates a whole new level of chaos for us, because it challenges us to, what are we going to do different? Not just because we want to show how flashy our product is and like that, but how do we want to show solutions that are going to meet the challenges and the business needs of the attendees? And so we spend a year just constantly talking to our customers, what are you guys looking for? And we're talking to our partners, what are you guys seeing? And then we sit there as an organization and say, what do we want to do? What's our challenge? So you look at ALP, our analytics platform. That came out of a need that we saw out of attending DSE for all these years. I mean, we're one of the originals. And we saw, what are people asking about? They want to understand the impact of content. They want to understand the impact of their environment. They want to drive a message. They want to build intelligence. Well, ALP. They want to show bigger and better displays, direct view LED, projection mapping, interactive displays, rear projection, all these different things. That became a challenge. So it challenges us to drive the industry forward. That's one of the biggest things we get out of it. So I'm the Vice President of Strategy for NEC Display. My job is to look 3 to 5 years out. So I need to look at what are those challenges that are coming to us. Are those challenges to simplify things? Are those challenges to go bigger, better, brighter, stronger? Going, as I use a common term in our organization, beyond the screen, beyond the display. Outside of that rectangle that we've been sitting in, that 16:9, data is going to be driving us further and further. And it's not just data for data's sake, it's how we use data, how we drive experiences for data. I use a lot of times when I talk about data is, just because we can, should we? But now there's the next thing, why aren't we? So why aren't we pushing the envelope with data? Why aren't we creating more and more experiences? And I think a lot of it is because the tools aren't there yet. And so we look at things like ALP, and we look at things like ALP Pro, which we announced here at DSE, and we look at things like collaboration systems, we look at things like interactive displays. That's going to drive us to the next level. We spent a lot of time this last year talking about data privacy, data security. There's a lot of laws and bills out there, GDPR, California, the Senate, and stuff like that. So we have to start thinking about, what does that mean for the customer, the end user? What's that mean for the integrator? What's that mean for the CMS companies? So we start looking at that. What can we do to drive beyond that? One of the other things that we look, and this is more of an industry-related thing, the Digital Signage Federation, one of the things that we did, which was so critical, is, I hate to say we checked our egos, but we set our egos aside and we got and aligned with other trade organizations that have similar ideas, and we just recently announced together with the DSF, Geopath, OAAA, the DPAA, IAB, industry best practices and standards for the digital out-of-home industry. That is a landmark thing. This has never been done where you have 5, 6, 7 different trade associations all driving towards the same goal, but all separate from one each other. We got together and we did the unheard of. This last year, we delivered an industry document that associations should be proud of. It's helping organizations drive towards the future. That, to me, is part of what the future is of our industry. And from an NEC perspective, I'm proud that we're part of it through our DSF relationship, our DSE relationship, but also we put a lot of feedback into there because we're seeing a lot of that stuff too. So things that I always want people to think about when they look at digital signage and look at NEC, look at DSF, they look at DSE, there's really 3 really key things. It's engagement. You need to engage in the industry. We're not here just to be here. We're engaged at all levels through trade associations, through demonstrations, education, sharing of ideas. That's number 1, engagement. Number 2 is this is a global industry. This is not a US only industry, a Canadian only industry. There are members from Latin America here. There are people attending from Europe, Russia, Australia, Japan, you name it. You got to remember, you can't just think local, you have to think global. And I think what the last thing, and this is, I crack people up when I say this, but don't do solutions for solution's sake. Truly deliver a solution that's solving a problem. Understand a customer's need. Don't throw technology out there against the wall and hope it sticks. Understand what a customer's needs are, understand what the market needs are and the business needs are, and then deliver to them. And then take a step back and don't be afraid when they tell you your baby's ugly. Don't be afraid of this, right? Take that challenge and go, hey, okay, well, yeah, this didn't solve everything you wanted. What do we need to do differently? What can we do? But you've taken that step. You stuck yourself out. You put yourself out there and to say, here is something that's needed. How do we help make it better? How does this help you? And don't be afraid to evolve it.